Last year, the 87th Academy Awards awarded Best Picture to Birdman, or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance, and the award for Best Director went to that movie's director Alejandro G. Inarritu. Instead of being content with all the awards recognition, Inarritu instead has decided to go 2 for 2 and make another prestige picture that is currently the frontrunner for the upcoming 88th Academy Awards. However, Inarritu has a secret weapon this time: Leonardo Dicaprio. DiCaprio's pursuit of an Oscar has almost become a meme at this point. Well, it has become a meme. Despite being one of the most talented actors on the face of the planet and being nominated 4 times, once for Best Supporting Actor in What's Eating Gilbert Grape and 3 times for Best Actor in The Aviator, Blood Diamonds and The Wolf of Wall Street, which I think he deserved for that one, he has never won. His latest role has him playing Hugh Glass, an American frontiersman and fur trapper who was mauled by a bear and left for dead, though this movie's interpretation is heavily fictionalized. Can the combination of Inarritu and excessive sadism give DiCaprio his overdue Oscar, or will people finally start talking about The Revenant on its own merits? It's early 19th century Louisiana, and American settlers led by Captain Andrew Henry find themselves ambushed by a tribe of Arikara Indians. Dwindling in numbers and lacking in resources, the settlers and hunters find things more difficult when their most experienced party member, Hugh Glass, finds himself mauled by a grizzly bear and on the brink of death. They try to continue without him, and Glass's half-native son Hawk, who is fictional for this movie, tries to support him, but another hunter, John Fitzgerald, kills Hawk and buries Glass alive so the group can continue faster without him. But Glass digs himself out of his grave and vows to take revenge on Fitzgerald as he crawls across the unforgiving frozen wilderness. As a premise, The Revenant offers a solid revenge drama, and the opening 30 minutes sow the seeds for a harsh, uncompromising movie about man versus nature. The movie opens with a brutal attack against the American settlers from the Arikara Indians, and then shortly follows it with a gruesome grizzly bear attack as Hugh Glass is left for dead. But then, the movie keeps going for 2 hours. The Revenant clocks in at 156 minutes, and there's not nearly enough substance here outside of the inherent themes present in the story, aka it sucks to be out in the cold and stuff, to carry it for that long. The Revenant could have been a brutal, visceral 90 or even 100-minute cinematic experience, kind of like 2011's The Grey with Liam Neeson, but at almost 2.5 hours, it feels massively long-winded. Because, simply put, the substance just ain't there. This is a basic revenge movie, and at its heart, it's a B-movie. There's absolutely nothing wrong with being a B-movie, just like there was nothing wrong with being a superhero movie, but it feels like Alejandro G. Inarritu feels ashamed of both of them, such as The Revenant and Birdman last year, and he feels the need to pad out the runtime with redundant dream sequences. Condescending moralizing. The movie is so worried that the audience won't understand the rather simple moral of the movie that it actually says it directly to the camera at the end, and repetitive sequences of Leonardo DiCaprio subjecting himself to numerous on-location tortures to get an Oscar, and that's another aspect of the movie that feels extraneous. Yes, DiCaprio eats a raw bison liver on camera and throws up. Yes, he slices open a dead horse, heaves out its organs and sleeps inside of it. Yes, he gets mauled by a CGI bear, gets his throat slashed, crawls out of his grave and has to cauterize his own throat, etc. But who the hell is Hugh Glass, the character he's meant to be playing? Leonardo DiCaprio is not playing a character in The Revenant. Glass is given no personality and no goals outside of revenge. That would be fine for a 90-minute B-movie, but at nearly 2.5 hours, the audience are spending a lot of time with a character with no traits or identity. We're basically watching DiCaprio perform numerous stunts in front of a camera, not watching Hugh Glass, a person, trek through the wilderness to avenge his child. The Revenant, despite all of the gloss, pomp and circumstance, is essentially an art house version of Jackass. Hey, I'm Leonardo DiCaprio, and I'm gonna ride this horse off a cliff. If Hugh Glass had actually been given a personality, or at the very least more than 200 words to say in the entire screenplay, then it might be more effective to see him struggle. You could empathise with him, but I have no motivation to see him go through this self-imposed torture, and I couldn't care less if he made it out alive or not. Yeah, John Fitzgerald was a dick to leave him behind, but his motivations were understandable. Hugh Glass, when you get right down to it, is just a boring lead character. Yes, Leonardo DiCaprio is good on screen, and he's really going for broke to win some awards, but he's not playing a character here. He's definitely suffering for his art, and he's overdue an Academy Award, but I would rather he won it for a movie like The Wolf of Wall Street, where he's given a character to work with, and is able to embody a personality. If DiCaprio wins an Oscar for The Revenant, I'll be disappointed at the precedents that sets for actors in the industry. No, it doesn't matter if you're living a character or bringing a screenplay to life, that doesn't matter. Just subject yourself to physical hardships, that will get you an award. If DiCaprio wins the Oscar this year, the Academy better also bring Johnny Knoxville from Jackass on stage to give him a Lifetime Achievement Award. It only makes sense if you follow that train of logic. As for the rest of the cast, Domhnall Gleeson is okay, but he feels underwritten and undercharacterized. God, how can that sentence exist when reviewing a 156-minute movie? And as for Tom Hardy, God, he's a mumbler. During scenes he was in, my eyes often glazed over because I simply couldn't understand more than half of his dialogue. His thick accent and low tone just became noise, and I didn't have a clue what he was saying. I understood his frustration and emotions thanks to the performance, but it got almost comical how little of his dialogue I could understand. Tom Hardy is nominated for Best Supporting Actor for The Revenant, and just like Alicia Vikander in The Danish Girl, I feel like he is a deserving nominee, but for better movies in 2015 like Legend or Mad Max Fury Road, he was better in those films. His naturally intense demeanour works, but when you can't understand most of his dialogue, you're gonna have a bad time. We also have subplots where an Indian tribe are trying to find a woman thought to be dead. The issue is that the audience don't have a clue what she looks like, so when one of the two women in this entire movie show up, there is a third but she's a ghost because of symbolism, you naturally think, oh, is that her? She's the only woman we've seen up to this point, so it must be her. But then she disappears and adds nothing to the movie, so you naturally think it's the next woman who comes along. The filmmakers must have caught on to the idea that the audience would have no idea who either of these women are, so they literally tattoo one of their faces so that when she turns up again at the end, you can actually recognise her. It's a subplot that adds nothing and is poorly handled to boot. One subplot that works out marginally better has Will Poulter playing a young Jim Bridger, who feels enormous guilt about leaving Hugh Glass behind, especially since he was tricked by Fitzgerald into following orders. But he doesn't get nearly enough screen time, and his arc never sees an on-screen resolution, despite the 156-minute runtime. I've got to emphasise that 156 minutes, 2.5 hours, providing more than enough time to see his arc come to a satisfying conclusion. God, the storytelling in The Revenant is so uneconomical and poorly paced. At least it looks gorgeous. The landscapes are phenomenal, with Inarritu taking his crew and Oscar-winning cinematographer Emmanuel Lubezki to the wilderness and to places where no human had set foot before. This is a big screen experience about the vastness of nature with some stunning vistas. However, let's talk about the natural light aspect. Is it admirable that Inarritu and Lubezki decided to use only natural light when filming 95% of the scenes? Yes. Does it benefit the movie? Honestly, not really. It doesn't really give the movie a unique look or feel, especially since the image has clearly been altered and colour corrected in post-production to within an inch of its life anyway. The natural light gimmick feels like another aspect that the producers can talk about when promoting the movie for Oscar consideration, as opposed to something that actually benefits the movie when watching it. It also doesn't help that the crew's need for natural light, causing them to only shoot for around 90 minutes a day, means you can often see the sun hop around the sky from shot to shot. It actually becomes quite distracting at times. And while the static vistas are gorgeous and the camera work is logistically impressive, it often feels like Emmanuel Lubezki is doing long takes just for the sake of it. The opening attack sequence is very impressive to watch, with the long takes showing the greatly choreographed action as well as the dozens of stunt performers duking it out at the same time, but sometimes you do need those close-up shots, those quick cuts and moments of panic, as opposed to smooth, gliding, weaving shots. You also get some very awkward moments of nothing, as the camera often has to turn around 180 degrees to view more of the action. You see this in the trailer when it cuts from the boat to the beach. Dude just cuts to behind the camera, you don't need to revolve it all the way around. Just like DiCaprio's performance and the natural lighting, it's admirable and impressive to talk about, but does the cinematography actually benefit the movie or feel appropriate? Not really. In fact, some long takes, such as the grizzly bear attack, are initially harrowing, but the longer it goes on for, the more it starts to become unintentionally funny. It goes on for so long that it becomes farcical. In fact, the final confrontation between Glass and Fitzgerald got a more vocal reaction from my screening than the oft-talked-about bear attack did. A lot of that comes from the makeup effects, which are phenomenally well done. The blood effects, the frost, the injuries, etc., all of them are so well done, and this is one Oscar I feel like The Revenant well and truly deserves. As for the music, it's repetitive and often droning, but it gets the job done, I guess. So after all of that, Here's my conclusion. I can't call The Revenant a bad movie. It's too technically proficient and working off a too solid template for that. It's just a mediocre one. The performances are fine, just fine. The cinematography is gorgeous, the effects are strong, and there are some harrowing and intense moments, but it's all in service of a movie that feels like a self-perpetuating Oscar-winning machine. Leonardo DiCaprio's performance, the natural light gimmick, and the long-shot cinematography are objectively good, but they're not in service of anything. They feel like discussion points to promote the movie as opposed to contributing to an actual movie. At 90 minutes we could have had something legitimately special here, but at 156, with a boatload of needless padding and characters not remotely worth getting interested in for such an extravagant runtime, it feels like one big stunt instead of an effective tale of survival and fighting against nature and your own need for vengeance. I give The Revenant 2.5 stars out of 5. Hey folks, thanks for listening to my review. You can find these reviews a day early on my website, so be sure to visit www.trilbee.com regularly where you can find a written version. I'm just experimenting with a new format, so let me know if you like these audio reviews to complement the written ones. Your feedback is greatly appreciated. But more importantly, what do you think of the film? Be sure to let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to subscribe for more movie-related analysis. Please hit that like button as it really helps me out, and you can support my content through Patreon for exclusive perks and rewards and updates. I'll see you folks next time.